You don't have to choose to accept the conditions imposed on you by your sweetheart. You can choose to reject those conditions. Let's look at the example from my life. Remember when I walked in the door all high and mighty about how children should be fed chicken soup instead of pancakes? And I made sure my husband felt unworthy as a father by placing those conditions on the way he loved his children. Dave made a choice, and his choice was to reject my conditions. And what he said when I walked through the door with my pursed lips and biting back my statement about what he should feed the kids is he said, "We were having a good time until you came home." You can imagine that that did not feel good to me. But what it did is it woke me up to the conditions I was unwittingly placing on love. Dave rejected the conditions that I offered and said, "I'm worthy as I am. I'm a good dad. And I chose to feed my kids pancakes for dinner. And I can make that choice and be a good dad." When you reject the conditions your sweetheart imposes, it may hurt, but it also wakes your love up to liberation and freedom. And doesn't that sound like a better foundation for the long-term health of your marriage? You can also choose to accept conditions on your relationship. Maybe Dave had seen that when I walked in that night, he could tell I was tired, and that maybe my grumpiness and my pursed lips would be fixed if I just got a good night's sleep. He could have chosen to accept the conditions and let it roll off his back and say, maybe next time I won't feed him pancakes for dinner, without internalizing an unworthiness. See, when you choose to accept conditions over and over and you personalize that feeling of unworthiness, it's weakening your self-esteem. And you shrink as a person. And the long-term consequences are that you won't show up as your real whole self in your marriage. If you accept or impose conditions on your love, it weakens your foundation. If you accept conditions on love, little by little you're giving away your integrity, trying to fit yourself into the box that someone else has prescribed for you. If you impose conditions, you keep yourself from the softness that love has to offer. We impose conditions on love because we think that the rules of love will keep us safe. The opposite is actually more true. When you can surrender to the reality of what's happening, that's what creates a foundation of trust and will bring you closer to your sweetheart. Transform your conditions into agreements. When you can transform your hidden conditions into agreements, it brings everything out into the open and allows integrity and trust to foster intimacy in your relationship. In this series, Beware Conditions, we've talked about 4 strategies that will help you. First is just to notice the feelings that you have and how they might be polluting your marriage. Second is to speak those crazy feelings aloud so they can't pollute. Third is to stay in your own business. When you speak those feelings aloud, they stop being universal law and they become your personal desire. Fourth is you can choose to accept or reject the conditions you feel from your sweetheart. When you're able to implement these 4 strategies and get rid of the rules of love, you'll begin to feel that organic connection. Stay tuned, because next time we'll talk about how you can say yes to your sweetheart and still say no to what they're requesting. I'll see you then. This video is part of a 6-step series, Improving Your Marriage Communication. Make sure you have access to the full course in my virtual classroom. The link's right below.